And just like that, it's the most wonderful time of year. Christmas is celebrated by almost 2 billion people across 160 countries. That's more than one third of the world's population. In the hustle and bustle of searching for that perfect present for a loved one on the nice list, which might be returned later on anyway, entertaining get togethers with friends, which can often require hours of travel polluting the air and wasting food at the end of it, have you ever wondered what the holiday cheer really means for the environment? Well, let's take a look. It all starts with the search for the perfect Christmas tree. Nowadays, you've got two options, a plastic one or a real one. According to the environmental think tank Green Cloud 9, if plastic, bear in mind 91% of plastic is non-recyclable, and of that, 12% is incinerated, while the rest of it is left to decompose over hundreds of years. Earth.org highlights that while a real tree might seem like a reasonable plan B, growing one to an appropriate size takes almost 10 years, by which time it is central to the natural habitat of a diverse array of wildlife. Once used, it'll be burned, releasing all that CO2 back into the atmosphere. More than half of the trees purchased in the US and in Europe end up in the landfill, and Carbon Trust calculated that each natural tree disposed of in the landfill releases around 16 kilograms of CO2, while a plastic tree has a much larger carbon footprint of 40 kilograms. Once you've picked your tree, nothing says Christmas like hundreds of twinkling lights. But wait, there's a dark side here. NASA has reported that parts of the planet are up to 50% brighter during the holidays. And according to the International Dark Sky Association, an organization that studies light pollution, all of the excessive outdoor lighting around trees, homes, and businesses has immense impact on the planet, as it disrupts ecosystems of wildlife, especially migrating birds that use moonlight and stars for navigation. And according to calculations by Globe at Night, it is estimated that in one home or shop alone, Christmas tree lights are often kept on for an average of 10 hours a day. That produces enough CO2 to fill 5 party balloons. Based on calculations by the British Office of National Statistics, in the UK alone, the amount of electricity used by the public on just Christmas Day, that's enough to power the Eiffel Tower for 50 years. Energy and Sustainability Solutions provides additional perspective to the energy waste coming out of the US, where during the entire duration of the holiday season, Americans use around 6.63 billion kilowatt hours to power their holiday lights. That's enough to power 14 million refrigerators, and it also happens to be the equivalent of the annual energy consumption of smaller countries like El Salvador and Ethiopia. The impact of lights extends beyond energy consumption, as the excessive light interrupts sleep patterns of both humans and nocturnal animals, with potential links to obesity in humans. Anyways, so you've got your tree, it's all decorated and nicely lit up. But what's a tree without presents stacked underneath? When it comes to gifts and gift wrapping, Clean Air Partnership calculated that 8,000 tons of wrapping paper, which translates to the destruction of 50,000 trees, is used to wrap gifts each year. The British EcoVeritas discovered that Brits buy almost 227,000 miles of wrapping paper each year, which is enough to stretch 9 times around the world. And of the gifts sitting under your tree, 1 in 5 are unwanted and will end up in the landfill. Only 1% of the gifts purchased will still be in use 6 months after the big day. Most gifts will be thrown out, in which case they add to the already exacerbated landfill. Or they'll be returned, and if they're returned online, those items will have a carbon footprint 14% higher than an in-store return. Add to this greeting cards. In the US alone, more than 2 billion holiday cards are sold each year, which can fill a football field 10 stories high. And on the whole, throughout the world, the number of Christmas cards exchanged are enough to cover the circumference of the Earth 500 times when placed alongside each other. Most of these cards are non-recyclable because of all the glitter and other fancy add-ons. One British study, led by Exeter University, concluded that 1 billion cards produce CO2 emissions equivalent to powering 22,000 homes for an entire year, or charging 22 billion smartphones. And of course, the best part, spending time with family and friends. What's quality time without some quality food? But based on research by Commercial Waste, did you know that on Christmas Day alone, the UK wastes nearly 7 million tons of food? In other words, 54 million platefuls of food thrown away. In all of Europe, this number is 88 million tons of food. Talk about solving world hunger. ReFood, which is an organization that collects surplus food in the UK, has established that if the wasted food from Christmas was recycled into energy, it could power an average home for around 57 years. So there you have it. It's no surprise why environmentalists have coined Christmas as the greatest annual environmental disaster. The most wonderful time of year, debatable. Most wasteful, probably.